Molly Qerim's sudden exit shocked fans and led to lots of guessing about what really happened. Now, new video has come out showing intense arguments between her and Stephen A. Smith, and it changes the whole.
Molly is a friend. Molly is a co-worker. Molly is somebody that I have leaned on many occasions in the past, as she has done when it comes to me. We've been partners on the show for the last 10 years. And a lot of times some of these things happen and it's just uncomfortable.
Stephen seems to be trying to fix things, but the tension between him and Molly is clear, leaving viewers eager to know the real story. What really happened behind the scenes? This new footage might hold the answers. The sports media world was rocked on September 15, 2025, when Molly Qerim, longtime host of ESPN's First Take suddenly resigned. This wasn't just a typical departure, it was a major shock that left fans, co-workers, and industry experts confused and searching for answers. After nearly 10 years hosting First Take and almost 20 years with ESPN, Qerim made the surprising choice to walk away immediately. The timing caught everyone off guard and raised serious questions about what truly led to her exit. There was no farewell tour, no slow goodbye, and no big send-off like you'd expect for someone leaving such a major role on a big TV network. Instead, Molly Qerim's departure was sudden and complete, leaving everyone wondering what really went on behind the scenes at ESPN. The day after her surprise announcement, Stephen A. Smith, her co-host and one of the most well-known voices in sports media, spoke out on his SiriusXM radio show. Everyone was thinking about it, but no one had solid answers. His comments quickly became a hot topic, picked apart and debated for weeks afterward. Stephen A. didn't sound like his usual loud and fiery self. Instead, he seemed emotional, honest, and deeply affected by what had happened. It showed a more serious, vulnerable side of him that fans rarely see. But as he kept talking, his words became more vague and mysterious, only adding fuel to the fire of rumors and theories about what might have really caused Molly's sudden exit.
Some of these things happen and it's just uncomfortable to see. The details, quite frankly, are none of y'all business. But it's not as if I know all the details.
Stephen A. Smith's statement raised more questions than it answered. Instead of clearing things up, it created an information gap that was quickly filled with rumors, guesses, and wild theories from sports media and social media alike. People began to wonder, what did he really mean when he said the details were uncomfortable to see? What was he not telling us? Why was he being so careful with what he shared? And most importantly, what was he trying to protect? While Smith did reveal a few specific details about what led to Molly Qerim's departure, even those seemed unclear, sparking even more confusion and debate.
It was a contract negotiation that was going on. ESPN certainly did not want to lose her. But in the end, she made a decision to walk away from the show effective immediately, as you see from her Instagram post, her Instagram story.
Contract talks in TV broadcasting are known to be complicated and often tense. They don't just focus on salary, they also involve creative control, work schedules, extra duties, and long-term career plans. So when reports came out that ESPN wanted to keep Molly Qerim, but she still chose to leave, it signaled that something major had gone wrong behind the scenes. Whatever it was serious enough for her to walk away from one of the most respected roles in sports media. Qerim confirmed her exit with a post on Instagram. She thanked ESPN, her fans, and her co-workers, but didn't give any specific reason for her decision. She called it a tough but necessary choice, hinted at future opportunities, and kept the tone polite and professional, yet very vague. It was the kind of message that sounds thoughtful but doesn't really say much. As days passed, pieces of the real story slowly started coming out through media reports and insider sources, giving a glimpse into what might have truly caused her surprising departure. ESPN's president of content, Burke Magnus, described Molly Qerim's resignation as a mutual decision. He said it came from a misalignment in contract talks and framed it as a clean break that would let her explore new opportunities outside the network. It was a neat, professional explanation, but many weren't convinced. To them, it felt like there was more going on behind closed doors. Former ESPN analyst Marcellus Wiley added fuel to the fire with bold claims on his *Hydration Situation* podcast. He suggested the situation was far more complicated than a typical contract dispute. Wiley described internal power struggles, workplace tension, and behind-the-scenes drama that hinted at deeper problems within ESPN. According to Wiley, Qerim had reportedly been asking for a major raise, aiming to go well above her estimated $500,000 to $800,000 salary, to better reflect her role as the host of one of the network's top shows. She may have also wanted more opportunities, like hosting her own program or taking on other high-profile roles outside of * First Take star, but Wiley's most controversial claim centered around Stephen A. Smith. He alleged that Smith holds so much influence at ESPN that if he supports you, you'll get what you want, and if he doesn't, you won't. This suggested that Smith may have had more control over personnel and contract decisions than most people realized, raising serious questions about the power dynamics behind Qerim's departure. The message behind Marcellus Wiley's claims was clear and deeply troubling. If Stephen A. Smith had supported Molly Qerim's requests during contract talks, she likely would have gotten what she wanted. But according to Wiley, Smith didn't back his longtime co-host, and that lack of support played a major role in her growing frustration, and in her ultimate decision to leave ESPN for good. Wiley pointed to something many others had noticed too. Qerim's farewell statement made no mention of Stephen A. Smith. For someone she worked alongside for nearly a decade, that silence spoke volumes. As Wiley put it, they weren't cool with each other to the point someone you've worked with for 10 years, you don't even mention them when you're gone. It struck a chord with fans and media alike, fueling the belief that there was real, unresolved tension behind the scenes. He also brought up a bigger issue: how ESPN values its on-air talent. Wiley noted that others, like Mina Kimes, reportedly made more money than Qerim, despite having roles that were arguably less central to the network's biggest shows. That raised uncomfortable questions about pay equity and whether factors beyond performance, such as favoritism, internal politics, or biases, were at play in how salaries were determined. The situation grew even more complicated when new reports suggested Qerim's working relationship with Smith had worsened in the months before she left. One especially damaging allegation claimed that a high-ranking ESPN executive who was close to Smith had never liked Qerim as a talent. If true, this would point to deep-rooted opposition from influential figures within the network, suggesting that no matter how well Qerim performed, she may have been fighting a losing battle against internal forces determined to keep her from advancing. Together, these pieces painted a picture of a toxic work environment, power struggles, and a dramatic fallout between two of ESPN's most recognizable personalities, a story far more complex than a simple contract disagreement. Former ESPN host and commentator Emmanuel Archo shared his thoughts on the situation during an episode of the Speak Easy podcast with hosts Kieran Hickey Simple and Leon McCoy. Together, they criticized how Stephen A. Smith handled Molly Qerim's departure. They argued that Smith made things worse by sharing bits and pieces of the story, confirming some details about her sudden exit and contract issues, while also claiming he didn't know other parts and calling for privacy. To them, his statements felt inconsistent and overly dramatic, only fueling more public speculation instead of bringing clarity or allowing Qerim to control her own story. But Stephen A. wasn't finished. In what many saw as a thinly veiled response to the situation, despite his repeated claims that it wasn't, Smith delivered a long, intense monologue about leverage, value, and knowing your place in the media world. It quickly became one of the most talked about segments of his career. His message was blunt: being successful in sports media isn't just about talent. It's about understanding your worth, being realistic in negotiations, and knowing how much power you really have. Although he kept saying it wasn't about Molly, the tone and timing of his comments made it clear to most listeners that he was, at least partly, addressing her departure. One part of his message stood out. Smith seemed to suggest that while Qerim may have believed she deserved more pay or new opportunities at ESPN, she didn't have enough leverage, in terms of ratings, audience impact, or job offers elsewhere, to make those demands stick. It was a sharp and possibly revealing take that hinted at how Smith really viewed Qerim's position during her contract dispute, and why she ultimately failed to get what she wanted. To many, it painted a harsh picture. Qerim may have had the talent and the tenure, but in a business driven by influence and numbers, that wasn't enough, especially without the full support of the network's most powerful voice. To really understand why Molly Qerim leaving First Take is such a big deal, you need to know how important her partnership with Stephen A. Smith was. For nearly 10 years, they worked together on the show and built a strong on-air connection that helped make First Take must-watch TV. Molly joined the show in September 2015 as the main host. Her job was to guide the heated debates between strong personalities while also sharing her own thoughts and insights on sports topics. By the time Molly came in, Stephen A. Smith was already a major name in sports media, known for his bold opinions. Right from the start, the two showed great chemistry, often engaging in fun, natural conversations that didn't feel forced or scripted. Stephen A. often spoke highly of Molly, calling her both a friend and a key part of the show's success. Their back-and-forth banter was full of energy, humor, and competition, which kept fans watching. One unforgettable moment that showed their chemistry was when Molly jokingly challenged Stephen A's views on her athletic skills, a moment that quickly went viral online. The exchange between Molly Qerim and Stephen A. Smith became even more entertaining and intense when Molly, clearly upset that Stephen A. seemed to underestimate her athletic skills and competitive nature, directly challenged him. It was a standout moment, funny, unexpected, and a great example of the natural connection they had built over the years working closely together. Another memorable moment in their partnership was during a lively basketball debate, where Molly showed she could easily keep up with Stephen A., proving she was more than capable of holding her own against one of the most opinionated voices in sports.